Welcome back to another episode of Local Search Tuesdays. This week I've got a treat for you. My entire presentation from last week's SMX Advanced Europe in Berlin, Germany. Last week, I hopped a not-so-quick flight to Berlin to speak at SMX Advanced Europe. I've spoken at SMX Munich a few times before, so I was excited to check out the Advanced Conference in Berlin. The speaker lineup was insanely stacked, and the conference was amazing. If you ever get the chance to go, you definitely don't want to miss it. I gave a fun talk about local SEO. Obviously, this week's episode will be a bit longer than usual, so get comfortable and soak it in.
This is how to be a local SEO superhero. You know who I am because you're watching this on my video series, but in case you haven't seen the video series before, this is Local Search Tuesdays. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Search Lab, and I'm lucky enough that I get to speak all over the world at digital marketing conferences, teaching people how local SEO works. Here's a fun picture of me speaking at MozCon a few years back, and unfortunately, a lot of these conferences, they're pay to play. And you'll see sales guys up on stage, and they're not really that great at public speaking. And typically, they stand locked behind the podium, and they talk really fast and monotone, so it's really hard to understand what they're saying. And even worse, there's absolutely no design element to their slides at all. It's typically a plain white background on every slide, and they pack every slide with black Arial font bullet points, and they just read bullet points the entire time. There have actually been scientific studies that prove that bullet points kill kittens. So today we're going to keep all the kitties safe. No kittens are going to die because we're talking about SEO. And you saw the Deadpool reference there at the beginning. I'm an absolute nut for movies. I've got movie tattoos on my entire body. 25 movies at this current point. So I always love to share my love of movies along with my love of SEO. So there's always a theme. And today's theme is superhero movies. We have 102 references to superhero movies with at least one movie for every year in the last 50 years. If you haven't seen the movie, which you won't on some of the more obscure older stuff, there is attribution over to the side. So not only will you learn some awesome stuff about SEO, you'll have a kick-ass list of movies to watch later. So why the long face? Are you spending too much time looking up at the competition, ranking higher in local searches? I know SEO seems pretty complex and confusing, but you don't need a big brain to be able to succeed. Even though a lot of times it seems like it's a bunch of magic and smoke and mirrors, it's really not. I'm here today with a lot of hot tips to show you how to crush the competition so that your sites will kick ass in search results. It's really important to understand that Google's local algorithm is completely separate from the traditional algorithm. And the factors that it uses to determine which sites should show in search results are different. And even the ones that are the same, like content and links, they're weighted differently than the traditional algorithm, which means when you're optimizing for the local algorithm, you need to use different strategies. So let's start with, how do you know if you need local SEO? Well, if you're a business that does face-to-face business with customers, either at a brick-and-mortar location or as a service business at the customer's location, like a plumber or an electrician, then you need to be doing local SEO. And sometimes if you do e-commerce, even though you don't do face-to-face business, you'll still need to do it. So the way you find out is do a search for a few of your most important money-making keywords. If Google displays a map pack, then that shows that Google says that sometimes that search query has local intent, and you'll need to use local SEO strategies to help show up better in those situations. It's really important to pay attention to a study that happens every year called the Local Search Ranking Factors Study. This study is run by Darren Shaw over at Whitespark, and basically the top about 40 experts on the planet in local SEO are all given a pretty in-depth survey. And then the answers from the survey are all aggregated together, so you get a pretty good handle on which factors influence local visibility. And when Darren releases the information, he breaks it down into two pie charts. One that shows you the factors that influence your visibility in the local pack or in Google Maps, and another that shows you the factors that influence your visibility in the localized organic results down below the map pack. And it's really your guide to what you should do every year if you want to achieve better visibility. I like to boil things down to simple concepts because a lot of times you'll see a presentation or a webinar or hear a podcast and you'll need to adjust your strategy, but you get overwhelmed because there's so much information there. So the easy, simple concepts make it easier to remember things. And especially if you have to go talk to your boss and convince your boss to change directions, it's easy to use these examples to prove why. So I like to use pizza delivery as an example for local SEO. This video here walks you through how to use that concept to prove that Google's local algorithm works differently. And it's important to understand that it's not just putting keywords in a few places on a few pages. The things that you do to optimize your website to make it better for your customers are the same things that you're doing to optimize the website for Google. So you've got to pay attention to that customer experience and to conversion optimization, because we know that your customers are going to be shopping around before they submit a lead through your website or before they show up and buy, especially if your products skew towards the higher end of cost. The more expensive the product or service is, the more research people will do before they buy. So you've got to stand out. You've got to be memorable. You've got to be appealing. You've got to give people a reason to come back to your website. Because if you've got the same generic BS content on your site that all of your competitors have, why is anyone going to care about you and buy from you? So use your content to show everyone in the area why you're amazing, why they should be buying from you. And that means it needs to actually be about your business and what's unique about you. And I don't mean we treat customers like family, because everybody says that on your website. Your website is your chance to shine, to tell people why you're amazing, why they shouldn't even consider buying from the competition, and make sure it's about the local area as well. And there's a really easy way to test if your content is done well. I like to run this test on the homepage of the website or even the About Us page, and you can do it on a product or service page as well. But let's say we're taking the homepage content and it's for a plastic surgeon. Could you only change the name of the business and the city that that business is in to a different city and a different business name and put it on the website for a plastic surgeon on the other side of the country? Would the content still work? Because if it would, it's not really about that business and it's not really about the local area. Another important content test is to read your content out loud, because everything on your site should sound conversational, like something you would say face-to-face to someone who just walked in the front door. And when you read it in your mind, your marketing brain hears keyword, 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 and you think, oh, this is great content. But when you read it out loud to another person, your ears will catch those weird phrases that you wouldn't actually say out loud. And that's how you can catch the things that need to be adjusted to make your content more conversational. And a really important, simple concept to remember is that if you want to show up as a search result when someone types in a particular search phrase, then you need a dedicated page of content on your site about that singular concept. And that page needs to be the best answer in the local area to the question that the searcher is asking. And if you're writing the best content, you should probably answer some of the subsequent questions that the searcher would ask once they get their initial answer. So when you're adding this content, you really need to think about what you're targeting, that singular concept. Why are you writing this content? Because if you already rank well for a topic, you don't need to add more content around that topic. You should always be adding content that will give you additional visibility and get more eyeballs on your website in areas where you weren't getting eyeballs on your website. So make sure you're targeting the content that will increase your visibility. And then when you're optimizing this content on your site, you need to optimize slightly differently compared to how you would optimize for the traditional algorithms. So I'm going to walk you through that really quickly. As you're optimizing that page that's about a singular concept, the title tag should have the keyword and the city that you're in. Now, as I walk through these page elements, keep in mind, same keyword phrase, same city each time. And also never put your business name first in your title tag, because you're the only business named that, and you'll always rank number one for a search for that phrase. The second most important element on the page, the H1 heading, you should only have one H1 on the page. Same keyword phrase, same city, a bit more conversational than the title tag. And obviously you need the keyword and the city in the page content. But if you've written the best answer in the local area that answers the subsequent questions, it's all about your business and all about the local area, you probably won't have to do anything here. Image alt text is another big area. So years ago, Google couldn't tell what was in images. So alt text is a part of the image embed code that describes what's in that image. And now Google's machine learning systems can pretty much tell you exactly what's in an image, but the alt text is still part of the algorithm. And it's something that a lot of businesses and marketers ignore. So it gives you a little bit of an edge. So make sure that you're descriptive. Don't just say guy standing next to car. Make sure you include your keyword in your city in the phrasing of the alt text. And for the internal pages of your site, it's helpful to have the keyword and the city in the URL slug as well. It's more friendly for humans and it's a better signal to Google. And then finally, the meta description for that page should also include the keyword phrase and the city. And obviously the meta description has no play in the algorithm. It's not going to help you rank better. But since the meta description is what populates those gray sentences underneath your blue link, and we know that if the search includes those phrases, they'll be bolded in the meta description. It's going to give you more click-throughs, so it's really important to make sure you include that as well. And a lot of people think that blogs are kind of worthless, but they're really important when it comes to SEO. You've got to have a blog. You've got to be posting regularly. And the main reason is there's a humongous difference between the kind of content that goes in the main section of your site and the kind of content that goes in your blog. Main website content is extreme bottom of funnel content. Blog content is mid to upper funnel content. And it wouldn't make sense to have the mid to upper funnel content on the main menu of the site because the main pages are conversion focused and the blog isn't really conversion focused. It's more about research and informing potential customers and guiding them down that purchase path. And in fact, you can create pre-funnel content. If you make your blog a local destination and periodically share helpful information about the local area that has nothing to do with your business, it's almost like you're putting a billboard up on the side of the road. You wouldn't expect that everyone that sees the billboard is going to buy from you, but it's there for brand building and brand awareness. And when you put up a post that talks about the local area, that helps you get eyeballs on your website from people that aren't looking to buy your product or service. But when they need to buy your product or service in the future, they've already been to your site. They've already got that name brand recognition, so you're more likely to convert those customers. If you need some ideas for how to do this, I've got a really cool video in my series that walks you through 10 major concepts that you can use as a springboard to come up with your own localized content. And everyone always wants to rank in nearby cities, but a really important concept is that you need to own your backyard before you expand. And what I mean by that, if you don't have solid enough optimization that you're doing really well visibility-wise in the town where you're located, you have no hope of showing up in nearby towns or cities. So you've got to set that foundation first and then go out and try to expand your reach. So watch this video. It really kind of walks you through that concept. But if you're in a less competitive area, you can really achieve some great visibility outside of the town that you're in with some city pages. And this video will walk you through how to do it. But if there is more competition, or if you're just in a really dense metro area, a city page probably isn't going to be sufficient. You're probably going to need to be a bit more advanced and use a local content silo. And this video will walk you through how to do that. And like I mentioned earlier, things are weighted differently and links work differently in the local algorithm as well. We actually don't care about the authority scores, domain authority, whatever the different authority scores are for whichever link tool that you're using don't actually matter. It's been proven time and time again that they don't matter to the local algorithm. And in fact, because you're wanting to go for local links, most of the time the businesses that would link to you aren't doing SEO either, which means they're going to have a very low authority score if you run them through any of your link analysis tools, but those are the best links to get. We also don't care if it's a no-follow link. Again, the local algorithm works differently. It's been proven time and time again that no-follow links work just as well as follow links, according to the local algorithm. All you really need to worry about is whether or not the link comes from a local business or a local website. And the easiest way to get those links is to just do the old school marketing things that businesses did before the internet basically took over the entire world. You just need to get involved in the local community, in the real world, not online. And then it's really easy to get those links. And if you need some other ideas for how to get links, guess what? I've got a really amazing video that I put out that also shares 10 amazing concepts to help you get more local links. And I'm also going to share our onboarding questionnaire with you. This is a separate onboarding form that we send out to clients to help uncover some low-hanging fruit of things that might already be going on at the business that can then result in some great local link opportunities. And it also helps get centered in on the vibe of that particular client or business to help you determine what the best direction to go in the future is with the link building tactics that you're going to be using. And customer reviews are also a part of the local algorithm, which is interesting because a lot of agencies treat reputation management as a separate thing from SEO, but the local algorithm really values those customer reviews. So you need to make sure that reputation management is included in your local strategy. And in fact, reviews have gained more weight and more importance over the last few years. The algorithm's been tweaked every year, and reviews have been given more weight. But I'm not talking about the testimonials page on your website. Customers don't care about a testimonials page on your website because they know it's only going to be the best of the best of the best 5-star reviews that tell everyone how amazing you are. They want to read honest, unbiased reviews on third-party websites, which means you need to have a proactive process. It's not really human nature to leave a review when you're happy. Most people are going to leave a bad review if they're unhappy, but the happy customers don't tend to leave a review. So watch this video. It walks you through the process. But the main points that you really need to know is that you've got to make it easy for people to leave a review because the vast majority of people don't know where to go to leave these reviews. And it's important to ask every customer because those happy customers are more likely to leave a review if you ask them to share their experience. You also need to be sure that you answer every review. Many businesses only answer the positives. Some businesses only answer the negatives, but it's important to answer both positive and negative reviews. This video walks you through that process. And remember, when you're replying to a bad review, you shouldn't say, we're sorry you had a bad experience. We strive for great customer service. Here's my number. Call me and tell me more. That's horrible. Your response isn't for the person that left the review. Your response is for every potential customer in the future that's reading your bad reviews and wants to see how you handle the situation. And the algorithm doesn't actually care how many reviews you have. It just matters that you have more reviews than your local competitors. And I've got a really cool advanced tip to share with you. You know, when you first go to your Google business profile and you go to look at the reviews, and before you hit the sort to see the newest or the best or the worst reviews, you have the default sort order of the reviews. If a review has a photo uploaded along with it, it's stickier and it stays in the default order for a longer period of time. If a review has more text in it, it stays in the default sort order for a longer period of time. And if a review has 2 or more thumbs up, it will stay in that default order for a longer period of time. So if you get a bad review that shows in that default sort order, you can bury it really quickly. Reach out to someone who recently left you a 5-star review. Ask them to expand their story, tell a little bit more about what happened, and to upload a photo along with it and to let you know when that happened. And once they've done that, you just have a couple of people at the company go in or at the agency go in and give that review a couple of thumbs up, and boom, it jumps right to the top of the list. It's sticky, and you can do that with 3 or 4 reviews, and it will bump that bad review down pretty quickly. It's a pretty amazing advanced tactic. And let's finish up with your Google business profile because it's really your homepage. It's the first impression you're going to make with customers that find you when they look for you by name, or if they stumble across your business because they're doing a more generic search phrase and you show up in the map pack. And speaking of the map pack, optimizing your GBP well means you'll show up more often in those map pack search results. So make sure you fill out everything that you can fill out except for the areas served field because that doesn't do anything for you. Especially if you're a brick and mortar and your address is displayed, that field's completely ignored. And if you're a service business, that field really only just draws the red line around your location to let potential customers know how far you're willing to drive, but it has 0 influence on your visibility. And make sure that you're putting UTM tracking on your website links because attribution is broken and a lot of traffic that comes in on mobile, the referral information is not passed to Google Analytics, which means Google Analytics will then classify that traffic as direct. So if you use UTM tracking, you can force it to correctly attribute that traffic as organic traffic. And you want to take the credit for all of the SEO wins that you're going to be getting because of your optimization strategies. So make sure you've got the UTM tracking on those links. And whichever page your GBP points to, which for most businesses will be the homepage, but if it is a multi-location business with a single website, your GBP would point to an individual location page for that particular location. But those GBP landing pages need to be optimized for the most important keyword phrase and the city that you're located in. You want to make sure your correct hours are listed, which seems a little crazy to mention, but you'd be surprised how many businesses get it wrong. Make sure you're uploading high quality photos, because photos that are uploaded along with reviews, or even just photos that are tagged with your business, will be added to your GBP photo gallery, which means customer photos will show up. And Google's algorithm tends to prefer the high quality, well composed, well lit, high resolution photos. So those are the ones that you need to make sure that you are concentrating on. And then you want to make sure you select the correct categories. It's really influential on the searches that you'll show up for. In fact, your primary category, the first one that you choose, is the most weighted factor in the current local search ranking factor study, and also from experience. It's massively influential. So be strategic and make sure you're choosing the right one. And if you do have problems with your Google Business Profile, it's usually not a great idea to talk to support. They kind of suck. It's very scripted. They tend to not always understand all the rules. So instead, go to the Google Business Profile Community Forum. It's a community forum. It's not staffed by Google employees, but it's staffed by volunteers that donate their time to help people. And if you can get an answer from someone that has a product expert badge, that means they're in the Google Product Expert program, which means Google has endorsed their knowledge to say that this person is giving you correct answers and they know their stuff. And if someone is a gold or platinum or diamond level product expert, they have the ability to escalate your thread and skip support, and it goes directly to the Google Business Profile team. So it's a great way to get help if you're experiencing problems. You want to make sure you're using Google Posts. Google Posts are amazing. They're basically free ads that show on your Google Business Profile. So I did a Whiteboard Friday for Moz about a year and a half ago, and this video is densely packed with information about how to be successful with Google Posts. But honestly, the secret to success is not most of the stuff that you're going to see online or at conferences. The secret to success is paying attention to what the thumbnail looks like, because Google's going to automatically crop to a smaller version of your image, and you can't control the crop, and it's only going to show a few lines of text. And if that little thumbnail isn't compelling, no one's going to click on your post, and it's not going to matter. But unfortunately, because you can't control the crop and the cropping isn't even consistent, a lot of times really important image elements are cropped out in the thumbnail, and it doesn't look very enticing. So we created a Photoshop guide that will give you a bit more control so that you're pretty solid on understanding what's going to show and what's not going to show when the image is cropped. So if you download the PSD at the link right there, it's going to look like this. Anything within that white grid will be safe and will appear in the thumbnail, and everything outside of it will appear once they see the entire post after they click the thumbnail. A lot of research has shown that you don't want to use stock images in Google Posts. You'll get up to 5 times more click-throughs to the full post if you're not using a stock image. You should also pay attention to the questions and answers widget in your Google Business Profile, which allows anybody to ask you a question, and any random a-hole can answer that question for you. The general public actually thinks that it's a chat widget, so that when you click Ask a Question, it's just a chat where someone's on the other end waiting to answer the question, but it's really a community discussion widget. And since it's a community discussion widget, that means questions can receive multiple answers. So whichever answer has the most thumbs up, the most upvotes, that's the answer that's displayed as the primary answer to the question. And then there'll be a link where people can read additional answers if they choose to. You can even upload your own questions. So we call it a pre-site FAQ, because nobody's going to go to an FAQ on your website and read through and see if their question is there and maybe has an answer. And they're not actually going to do it on your business profile either. But it's really cool the way that Google built it. If a similar question has been asked and answered in the past, as someone is typing their question in, not only will Google autocomplete their question as they're typing it, it automatically displays an answer before they're even done typing the question. So they're getting an answer faster than what they would get if they were talking to a human or even talking to an AI chatbot. So it's an amazing pre-site experience. And there's a new reinstatement process for suspensions that has been rolled out worldwide this year. So you really need to make sure you understand the implications of the reinstatement process. So please watch this video if you're not familiar with the changes. The most important thing here is that once you start the reinstatement process, it will start a 60-minute timer of doom. And you only have 60 minutes to get all of your documentation together and submitted. And if that timer expires, you just lost your chance. So it's really, really, really important that you have everything together before that timer starts running. Last thing I want to talk about, we have a thing we call the local SEO scoring matrix that we use when we're talking to potential clients at conferences or before demo calls. It's basically a mini audit, and it scores the 4 major areas that influence visibility and local searches, which is the content on your website and how the content is optimized, the links pointed to your website from other sites, your Google Business Profile and how that's optimized, and your reviews and how those reviews are responded to. And the matrix scores on tactics, not on strategy. And most people use those words interchangeably, but strategy is the direction you're going, and tactics are the individual steps that you take to get there. And the reason that we score basic tactics is it makes it more universally helpful. If someone was to get a bad score and they went and talked to their current SEO partner, it'd be very easy to refute those results and say, oh, these guys know nothing about your location or our strategy, and we're fine, you can just ignore it. But when it's basic tactics that everyone would agree, hey, these are important for SEO, you can't really argue about the scores. And this was a huge game changer when we started using it on demo calls. It more than doubled our close rate because it only takes about 10 minutes to do the audit, but it looks like you've spent hours looking at a client site. So now you're having more intelligent conversations about what you can do to help that client achieve better visibility in search results. So those 4 areas are weighted, and it basically approximates the importance of each of the 4 areas. And then you add the scores together, and it gives you a score anywhere from 0 to 100 points. But 100 points is effectively impossible. In fact, the highest score we've ever seen was an 83.6. But you can get negative points as well. So if you're doing something that is probably or definitely hurting your visibility, you'll actually lose points instead of getting points. The lowest score we've ever seen was a negative 71.5, and this guy was paying $5,000 a month US for SEO services. So really scary. The average score that we see is only 18 out of 100. So if you'd like to check out the matrix, we have multiple versions. We have a generic version that works for any local business. And then we have versions for particular verticals that we tend to work with more often. So we've got a car dealer version, a cannabis dispensary version, and an attorney version. So I'm sharing the 2 with you so you can download both of them. Now keep in mind, these are Excel files, so don't try to open them up in Google Sheets because the formulas don't work the same. Download them, open them in Excel. But you can see between the generic version and the auto dealer version how we've updated it to include specifics that matter for that particular vertical. The matrix is really great at pointing out these obvious opportunities where you can help clients, and it will help you close more deals. But it's also a great guide for your team once you get that client, because it shows you all of the things that you need to fix quickly, so that initial swing through on optimization can be a lot more impactful because you already know coming in, okay, here's some major problems that we need to fix. So I hope you enjoy the matrix, and thank you so much for sitting through the fire hose of information. Hopefully now when you're thinking about your visibility and local search results, you're not going to be all sad and depressed because you were able to use all of the hot tips that I shared with you today. And by the way, this isn't the same joke because this is Ghostwriter 2. You'll no longer be the underdog in search results, and everyone will be really happy about your visibility. If you've got any questions, please shoot me an email. My email is just greg@searchlabdigital.com. Or if you'd like a copy of these slides when you're watching and you think it's great and you'd like to refer to them later, pop me an email. I'd be happy to send you a copy. Plus, at the end of every presentation, I include all of the movies by order of release date, so you'll have a kick-ass list of movies to watch too. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for sticking around to watch the whole episode, but we're definitely out of time for this week. So you know what that means. Put your hand on the screen right here. We totally just high-fived because you learned something awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Local Search Tuesdays.